What's up, guys? Welcome to Broke and Stressed, a PT student podcast where we talk about our lives as broke and stressed physical therapy students. Throughout grad school, you'll come to find that the struggles that you're having happen all the time to thousands of students across the country. You are not alone. In this podcast, we'll share our personal stories and walk you through how we overcame some of our own struggles. I'm your host, Ruben. Let's have some fun, have some good conversation, and let's get into the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we have Pauline AKA Clinical Sprinkles. If you guys have checked out her Instagram, you see she is a PT with a bunch of great content out there and a mentor for a lot of pre-PTs, SBTs, and even DPTs. But I'm going to let her introduce herself. I don't want to steal away her thunder, so.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pauline, and thank you for the dope intro. I've been a PT for almost 5 years now, and I started really building up my Instagram page kind of starting in April last year, right around the pandemic, when I was out of work and wanted to continue to help people. And so I was able to focus and grow my Instagram. And so it's grown quite a bit since then. And I'm really happy to meet and connect with so many people so far. Like leading into this podcast, I'm super pumped about that. So this is my first one. So thank you for having me.
No, of course. I'm excited to have you. And why don't you tell us a little bit about where you went to school? And one of the things I like to have our guests introduce themselves with is an embarrassing moment from their time in PT school.
Okay, school, I went to Western University of Health Sciences in Pomona, California. Graduated 2016, and my embarrassing moment, I think this one was during one of my clinicals actually, and I'm really big on names. So when I work with patients, I really try to use their names throughout the session multiple times. And so I just finished up with one patient. He's like a 50-something-year-old guy. And then I was moving on to my next patient, and we'll just use fake names, but her name was Diana. That's who I was switching into. And so as my 50-something-year-old guy walks out, I said, "Bye, Diana." And so wrong gender, wrong person, just super embarrassed. And it was across the gym so that everyone else heard it. So then that was really cool. And then he responded so funny because his response was, "Wow, it's been a really long time since anyone's called me that." And then I just apologized, and I was like, "I'm sorry, you can go now. I'm done for the day." And it was just, everyone heard it. Everyone looked at me like, "Dude." So that for me was the one that stuck out the most. I'll never forget it.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Just like, I was so off. It's
okay. It's one of those things. It's like, when you're at a restaurant or if someone's working at a restaurant and they're like, "Enjoy your food," and they say "you too." It's instinct or whatever. It just kind of comes out.
It was so bad. He was so nice. If it were to happen to anybody, he was a good one to happen to.
Oh yeah. At least he was a good sport about it.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. My gosh, that's funny.
But don't do that. Don't do that.
Make sure you get your names right, guys, when you're doing your. Okay, so today, guys, we have a great topic ahead of us, or a great couple topics, really. But I brought Pauline on just so she can help me navigate through what it's like to seek a job in this PT market, in the PT world that we have right now. I had a couple guests talk about this, but I really wanted her perspective on it because she literally just got a new job and she posts about it on Instagram and it looks dope. So I'm going to let her talk about what this new job is like and how she transitioned into it.
So I've only been working at this job literally for a week. I started there last Thursday and today is Thursday. So it's like super, super fresh. So far, it's been really good. I've been getting really good vibes. The staff are incredibly supportive, kind, welcoming. And the way that they structure their system of like treatment has just been so smooth. And it was, coming in as a PT already, I'm already skilled. I already know how to be a PT. I know how to do my documentation, but just kind of picking up this new flow has been what's kind of fun, like challenge. It's just different. So I think coming in with the mindset of like already being a PT and starting a new job, it's interesting to see how this flows. Because the last place that I worked, within the first week of me working there, I already knew this place wasn't for me. And it took me like 9 months actually to find this job, because I was being really picky about the places that I was applying to. Like, I don't like bouncing around between jobs. Like, I want to establish the place that I'm at, build a patient caseload, have them know that they can come back and see me at that location, blah, blah, blah. But this place I feel really good about so far. Really excited to continue to grow here.
Dude, that's awesome. And then without going into too many details, then what made you get a bad vibe from that last place you were at?
Well, because as I was learning about the patients and like what they were there for, how long they've been for, one of the things at that clinic is that there was a chiropractor there. It was PT owned, but it had a similar chiropractic model in that patients come for maintenance. They don't just, discharge after they're feeling better. It's like you find reasons to keep them coming. And so like I would have patients that had been there for 100+ visits, like for over a year. And the last PT clinic I was at, it was really awesome if you could get visits and discharges. Like, I think my biggest was maybe 40 visits. And so to see something as much as 100+ was like, wait, why are they here for so long? Like, I want to
100
be,
plus?
yeah. And
Were
so I
they
just,
post-ops or like,
no, just maintenance. It's just like, you
wow.
feel fine, you have zero pain, you have full function, but just keep coming just in case, something comes up, and then you can
Yeah.
keep. And so I didn't like that. That was
Hmm.
one big flag for me.
For sure. Yeah. And then you posted on your Instagram about some of the resources and stuff at your new clinic. So what kind of cool stuff do you have there?
So I work at a balance center, and so what they have is like this track system, which is attached to the ceiling, and then patients can wear harnesses that help support them basically if they were to fall. So then you're not guarding them with the gait belt. You have this super strong system that can, catch the person if they're going to fall. So you can do gait training, balance training, obstacle courses. And so I think what that allows for the therapist to do is to create these obstacles and do like more standby assist. And then the patients feel more confident, because instead of me, this like 5'4", like trying to guard this 200-pound plus patient, they're like, oh, cool, you have this as a backup, like this is going to catch you. So just gait training in that system. There's like a balance board there. And another cool thing about this place is that there's virtual reality. And so
I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, I got to play around with it a little bit, and it's really cool. So you wear the goggles, and there's trunk rotation, there's visual tracking, so then there's trunk rotation, cervical rotation, and just like you get to use this like almost game. It's fun for patients, and so I have already found several patients that I can bring back there. And it's one of those things, like, because you have access to it, you think of all the patients that could benefit from it. So I'm doing like, someone with low back pain who gardens, and you're like, oh, what would be really cool is if I got you back to the virtual reality and did some training with that on unstable surfaces, put an Eric's pad under her feet, and just kind of work on just functional activities using these really awesome tools. And so I'm still learning it, like how to use it, but it's been fun. Like, I've never had access to this before. And I realized like, wow, this is really powerful. Patients should come here because this is not accessible through so many other PT clinics. So I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. I just had someone present at my clinical like a case study on it, and how it was useful at another clinic that I used to work at. And I remember when I first went to CSM as a first year, I was like, the first thing I went to was virtual reality. I'm like, I gotta check this out. Like,
Yeah.
how do you implement virtual reality into this? And it was just so cool, and it just makes sense, right? Because it's like no one wants to go. It can be boring going to the clinic and just do your 3 sets of 10 of whatever exercise, but now you're making it practical, you're making it fun, you're getting that feedback, and there's just so much value in it. And I think all these new technologies in the PT world are just so interesting and going to be great to see them more, I guess, available to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. The simulations and stuff are just going to continue to grow. So I think it's just going to become even more powerful with time.
Mm-hmm. And then, so let's backtrack real quick and talk about like your experience, your job experiences. I know you talked about your previous one, but what's your job experiences been like right out of PT school? Talk about that journey.
So straight out of PT school, I was torn between SNF actually and outpatient ortho. And I really liked outpatient ortho because of the mentorship that there was provided in the interviews that I did. I had like 3 or 4 interviews between SNF and outpatient. And the one that I ended up choosing was mostly because of mentorship. And so I actually ended up staying at that clinic for about 3.5 years. I did an orthopedic residency with that company and I learned a lot. I am not the PT I am now without all of my experience and mentorship through that company. And so I think that was really good of me because I don't think jumping into a residency later on would have been as easy because I was already kind of thirsty for knowledge in terms of like, I can sit in lectures, I have the mental endurance to sit through those things. And like, I was wanting to learn, I didn't have a skill set like honed in yet. And so I think me starting off at that job was exactly what I needed straight out of PT school.
No, that's awesome. I feel like that's a big thing a lot of people look for, like for straight out of PT school, is that mentorship, because it's like, all right, the training wheels are off. You're on your own. You just push them into just start biking on your own, and it's like, oh crap, this is all me. I don't have anyone to really CI to look for and ask questions. Like, even though you're treating probably independently, you're just like, oh crap, I don't have anyone to fall back on. But that's awesome. The mentorship is super key. And I think that's something that people should look into and ask about when they're looking for those jobs. Like, what mentorship opportunities do you have for me to grow as a first year?
And I think a lot of new grads, especially with student loans, are facing is like, do I take that pay cut? Like,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you're paying for, the place that I was working at didn't pay that competitively. Now looking back at it, one, I was a new grad and I felt like I didn't have any negotiating power, which is false. You should definitely counter offer wherever you have a job interview at. But I think I started myself off too low. And so then my potential for growth there, I just felt like didn't get to go as high, but it was a trade for the mentorship. So for me, I thought it was worth it because I was like, I'm not getting paid this dollar amount, but I'm getting paid in knowledge and experience. And so that was something that was important to me, especially straight out of school. Like you said, just like having someone to lean on, ask questions. Like I've heard from other new grads who just get thrown into a clinic where they're the only PT there. And then they just kind of like go off of what they learned in clinical rotations. But if I compare myself where I am 2 years out of school to clinical rotations, there's so much potential for growth. So any new grad who's going to be put in a place where they're on their own, like it's great to like own your own business. But if you work for someone and that's like, you're just running the show by yourself, like I'd be really, really cautious of that because you don't want to be their workhorse and then you not reap that benefit.
Yeah, literally. And then I guess to kind of pick your brain, you mentioned like negotiating salary and kind of like knowing your worth. And did you learn about that in your curriculum in school?
Absolutely not.
That's not a
No.
thing, right? They don't teach you
No,
that. So
they
like,
don't.
how
And
did you navigate that, or how did you learn to navigate that?
I would definitely say I didn't know this for my first job applying at all. And I wish I would have. So this is the stuff that I wish I would have told myself then, is that, although you can't say that you have had paid work experience, you have your clinical affiliations. And I should have leaned on that more as when I was applying, because I had great CIs who were super supportive of me, who were really impressed by the work that I did and could have spoke really highly of me for, as a reference when I was applying for these jobs. So I think making sure that you lean on those references, you lean on what you've accomplished in school outside of just your GPA, like were you involved in things? Like, did you create a program? What was your capstone about? Like, why are you such a hard worker? And really bringing that to light when you are counter offering. Like, don't just take what they first get you. Really ask good questions about what kind of benefits are there. Is there mentorship? Is the health benefits good? Is the, how, like, mentorship in and of itself, like, is there monthly, like, how often do you do in services? Like, how open door policy is it? Like, if I have a patient case, can I come to you? Or, how many other skilled PTs are there? So there's so much to be asking for, because when you're interviewing, it's not just them interviewing you, but you're interviewing the clinic as well. So just making sure that, like, shine super bright all through the process until you get that offer. When you get that offer, that's when you really just, like, they want you. So then you really fight for, like, okay, they want you enough that they're offering you the job. Now, how much do they want you? Like, this is where you get to, like, play a little bit.
And that's hard. I feel like I wouldn't have the confidence or know how to have that conversation. I know money can be such a taboo topic, I guess, when you think of it initially, like when you're asking for more money. That just sounds like, oh, I don't want to do that.
I know, but we have to.
We
PTs are
really
so
do. People are just so,
underpaid.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I think another challenging thing for me was that I'm from Oregon. I work in Oregon now, but my classmates in California were getting paid so much more. So really trying to find resources where you could compare, like, what you're making in your market based on the state that you're in, years of experience, and then the setting. So Glassdoor is a really good place that I looked for like, what I think, do they offer the median or something like that? I just think looking at current job postings, even like looking at those, because like maybe the median is skewed or whatever, but if you look at the job postings for physical therapists, you can see like an hourly rate, between all of them, and you're trying to find what, like, a good in between, I would say.
Yeah.
Don't, and if they offer you something close to the bottom, always ask for more. Don't just, like, never just accept the base. They expect you to counter offer, one. And then for two, I think it says a lot about you if you counter offer. It's going to say that you're confident in yourself and that you think you're worth it, So worst they can do is say no. Worst they can do is just say, no, this is the best we've got. But best case scenario, which is what I did with this job, was I was like, no, I want this dollar amount. And then they gave 100% of that to me.
Oh, okay. So how did you say it verbatim? Did you say, I'm sorry, but I would like this instead? Like, walk me through exactly. Write me a script. I'm gonna take notes. Hold on.
Okay, wait. Let me pull it up. No, so I broke it down like this. Okay, so I started off by saying, hi, thank you for the offer. Okay, you have to thank them for offering you this job, and that, like, what they offered you is generous. Yes. Then you say, this is my skill set. I have this much experience. I'm a manual therapist. I'm a hard worker, a good team player, and I have a unique, now I have a unique skill set in social media, and that I can help the clinic grow in that aspect. And I think people listening to this probably do have social media accounts that are, in the PT realm. And so they can kind of highlight that, because a lot of clinics don't have people like that in their clinic, the PTs doing the marketing. So I think that's attractive. So, like, hi, thank you. This is what I can bring to the table. And then the next paragraph is, okay, so this is what I bring to the table, and this is how I plan to bring it to the table, and this is how it's going to help you. So you give them, like, not just like basic, this is what I claim, but this is how I'm going to prove that to you. Give them something measurable. So because of my social media skill set, I'm going to increase referral rates. I'm going to increase community awareness of this clinic. And then this is what I want instead. So this is my counter. This is paragraph 2. Paragraph 3. Paragraph 3, I finish it off by saying, my colleagues will speak highly of me. If you ask blah, 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 he was my residency mentor, he's going to say this about me. He's going to say I was an efficient, effective clinician who was really strong at building rapport with patients. And if you ask this colleague, here's his phone number, he's going to tell you that I worked well as a team and I was very communicative and blah, blah, blah. And then, thank you so much. Here's everyone's contact information. Ask them. They're going to speak highly of me. So because I was so confident in it, I even have people to back me up in it. That I think just that they accepted 100% of what I wanted.
Oh man, thank goodness I asked you for like a layout of that, because I would have just said, can I just have this, please?
No, you wouldn't have. That's totally not.
I would not have known how to frame that. I would not have thought about including all those things. But so thank you for that.
Yeah,
No, but that makes sense though. Like you're literally putting everything out on the table and stating why you're confident because of your experiences, and you have references, and you're offering a counteroffer, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
and
okay.
I was okay to accept less than that, but when they did it, I really was just like a confidence boost for me. I was like, oh wow, I must have did really good on that email.
Okay.
Oh, well, thanks. I think I'm pretty good too, Okay, cool. I think being professional, courteous, respectful are all, and I signed off. I don't know if you've ever signed off on an email like this before, but I said respectfully.
Ooh, you hit him with the respectfully.
Respectfully.
I knew just use sincerely or best regards, but respectfully that's top tier. Like,
you know what I mean? Because you're just like, hi, what you said was fine, but like, can I just give you this? And respectfully, boom.
Okay.
Finish.
I like that.
Because then they leave on a good note. They're just like, oh, she didn't mean to offend me by this huge ass number, but okay, I'm gonna give it to her. Like, I don't know how they received it.
No, that makes sense. That's dope. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And now I want to ask about some, I guess, big picture things about all the job experiences you've had. Let's list some good takeaway experiences and bad ones, like when you're looking for a job, like red flags, or not red. This wouldn't be a red flag for a good thing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know. Should I start with bad first?
Let's start bad first.
Okay. Bad first would be number of visits. That was the one that I listed earlier. It's just like, if they've been there forever, you got to ask yourself why. Like, are they here? Are they in it for the money, or are they in it because they really want patients to get better? Are they trying to get better patients better faster, which is what I'm about, because they give you so much of your time. They come like 45 to an hour a day times, how many days a week. So efficiency. So how many number of visits have they been there? I would also say the staff. I think the staff is going to be an important part of what I consider into a clinic that makes me happy. Are these people that I'm around 40 hours a week going to make me better? Are they skilled? Am I going to learn from them? You never want to be the smartest person in the room. Like, you always want you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. You want to be around people who are better than you so that you can continue to be better. So staff, number of visits. I would say being valued as well as a clinician, not just by compensation, but like, are you being recognized for the extra hard work that you're being put in? Are you being recognized for the above and beyond work that you do inside and outside of work? I think being valued was a big thing. So I guess that's a good and a bad. Like, it's bad if they don't value, but it's good if they do. So I think those would be the bad ones that jump out to me the most. And autonomy of practice. I feel like if I was dictated in how I treat, micromanaged in terms of like, make sure you add an ultrasound code, or make sure that, you're including this because it keeps them here longer. I want to treat patients the way that I want to treat them. I'm happy to learn and like try new things, but if it doesn't make ethical sense to me, I don't want to be pushed to do those things. So yeah, those would be my bad. But then things for good is kind of the flip side of it. I want to be valued. I want to work around staff that are really going to help me grow. I want a place that I can work the way that I want to work. I want a good schedule. I want to like being out of school. I used to do the closing shift from 11 to 7, and now I have the 7 to 4. So having a good schedule is important to me. Mentorship, like I said, the first job that I had, mentorship is key. So if do you have lunch and learns, do you have in-services, how often are those? And then how accessible are the upper management? Is it open door policy? I can pop in whenever I want, or do I have to like set up a time? And do they carve time out of the schedule to make sure that I'm doing okay? So making sure that they're considerate of you. I think those would all be good. And I've never been held to a productivity standard very closely yet. And I think that's unusual. I think a lot of outpatient clinics are like, make sure you're this much productive, make sure your no-show cancellation rate is like this. I haven't really encountered that.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I know. It's really common in outpatient.
Yeah,
but
I hear about it a lot.
I haven't been held up to standards like that. And I think that's nice in a way. Like I'm of course keeping in mind those things, but I'm not being pressured to maintain these numbers, or like if you have downtime that you're spending your time doing, you know, calling patients, doing this, blah, blah, blah. Like they're pretty lax in like knowing that what I'm doing is in help of the company. I'm not just like sitting around dinking around doing nothing. So yeah, I think that would be something else to consider for outpatient.
Yeah, no, those are all great points. Let me talk first about like the coworkers that you'll be working with. So first socially, like if they're good people to be around, like if you have draining days, will they be the ones to be there supporting you, or they be like zapping your energy away from you being a buzzkill, like taking away from your full capabilities of working. And the fact that, like you said, growing professionally as well, like being able to bounce off ideas, being able to learn from each other, that's key, not just from your peers, but your managers, you know, as well. And yeah, like it's very common and kind of sad with how much PT nowadays can be so corporate. And
Yeah.
that speaks to a lot of the points that you mentioned, you know, beat those productivity standards, having like managers breathing down your neck about like doing specific things, or, you know, clocking in and out, whatever, at a certain time. Like those kind of things are things to be aware of. And it's just hard to kind of screen those initially, I feel like. So do you have any tips on like how to seep through any of like, because obviously people are gonna put their best foot forward when they're meeting you, and they're gonna want you to join them, and they're gonna want to put their best foot forward and put on a face. How do you have any tips on like trying to see past that and try to really see what they're really about before you even accept a job? Is that even possible?
That's such a good question, because that's something I did for almost all of for the most two recent jobs. Because my new grad job, I didn't know how to do anything. But for the last two jobs, ask to job shadow. So see if you can sit in on the clinic for like one or two patients.
Oh man, that's smart.
Right. And so the one that I just did, I asked if like, oh, after my in-person interview, after my phone interview, can I stay for a patient or two to kind of see the flow of things, walk around the clinic and see, you know. So then I was like, oh, cool, you don't have an ultrasound machine here. You know, like you get to see the things. And I think it also speaks loudly when, you know, you come in and you are talking with the staff, you know. So like in my interview, I was shadowing the owner, who's the PT, but then I was talking to the aide, like, hey, are you trying to go to PT school? Like, you know, how do you like working here? Like, how long have you been here? How long have the staff been here? Those would be like discrete questions, right? If you have high turnover and they've been like, oh, I'm only here for like a month or two, or like, oh, I'm like the third aide here in the last 6 months, you know, like, so you just asking like, how long have you been here? How long have the staff been here? Seems kind of like not a big thing, but it is a big thing to you as the interviewer, as a shadower, to kind of pick up on those things as far as like the flow, the vibe, you know, like, how do you like working here? And if it catches them off guard. I feel like you're going to get a pretty genuine answer in terms of like, it's fine. Or like, you're going to get oh, I love it. I've been working here for a year, you know, like shadowing a clinic I did at both of the jobs that I had after grad school. And I think it spoke a lot, because then you get the patient too. You're watching how the therapist worked with the patient, and you get the patient's response, because they like to talk to you, right? The patient's like, oh, what are you doing here? And it's like, oh, I'm here for an interview. I'm just shadowing. They're like, oh, I love it here. This is a great provider. Like, you're going to love working with this person. So I think there's so many opportunities to observe, and be intentional with like the questions you're asking, who you're talking to, how you're talking to them, to get a sense of like how the clinic runs, how happy everyone is. If staff are like standoffish, and like mind their business, I feel like that's a sign, right? They don't want to come talk to you. They're like, oh, this girl's interviewing. I'm not gonna go say hi to her. I'm not gonna smile at her. I think things like that speak volumes too. So ask to shadow after your interview.
Yeah, that's really smart. I never even thought about that, because that really will speak volumes, and like, because they're not gonna be able to prepare for that. Like, oh crap, be on your like best behavior. You can't mess up.
Yeah, like ask not just the person that's putting their best foot forward, the one who wants you to, get hired, but ask the other people that are there.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Introduce yourself, because I think the person who is interviewing you might even ask like, hey, you talked to Ruben, like, what's your sense of him? Was he cool? Was he friendly? And they might ask that the PT aide what they thought of you. So make sure you're making a good impression on everyone, from the front desk all the way down to PT aide, to PT assistants, all to the other PTs. Like, make an impression on everyone.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, I think that's all the questions I had regarding like jobs. I kind of want to ask you more so about one big thing that you do on Instagram is mentorship for like SPTs, pre-PTs. What kind of like things, in what ways do you provide this mentorship for people?
I've kind of created my services based on what people have asked me for help on. I first started Clinical Sprinkles with just personal statements and resumes / cover letters, because those were two things I've already been helping people with. Like, out of PT school, it's like not just grammar, but like content, like just making sure, because then when I applied to PT school, I didn't have the greatest GPA. And so I think I really stood out by my personal statement and my well-rounded application, blah, blah, blah. But I think I'm really good at telling a story. Like, even in the email that I told you, I'm really good at structuring like a flow of things and then making myself sound confident, even though like I'm super nervous to even talk on this podcast. Confident, like, you got to sound good on paper to at least get you in the door. So I think personal statements, resumes, where I started because I had experience in it. And then from there, it's kind of grown. I have PT Eval Templates now, where people can download to do efficient evaluations for different body regions, because there's so much to go over in an eval, it's easy to get lost. And so I created those for myself, and I find that that's been really helpful for other PT / new grad PTs, just to kind of get a flow of outpatient settings. And so all my services just come based on what people ask for. And I think going through now a couple jobs and job interviews, I feel like I could even create a coaching, a mentorship. Like, I don't know, they just kind of come organically. Like, I did mock interviews because someone wanted a mock interview, but then she ended up not doing it, but it's just there. So then it's like, I can help people with that. I can help people, just kind of structure questions or words. And I feel like this podcast episode alone is going to have a ton of information. I hope people get a lot from this, from my own job experience, application, and blah, blah, blah. So I just want to help, because I struggled, as a new grad 5 years ago, and I've grown so much. And that's what inspired me to create Clinical Sprinkles. They're Clinical Sprinkles because I love sprinkles, but they're just like, kind of put in there as like little things you should know to be successful, not just like as a physical therapist, but like as a practicing PT, but just like as a human being in general. So I hope that people find those resources helpful. And if they feel like there's something that's not offered and I hear enough demand of it, I can create that service available to other people as well. Pretty open.
Dude, that's awesome. I was just about to ask you, what's the origin story behind Clinical Sprinkles, but you told it. So
yeah.
No, that's really cool that you have all this stuff, because honestly, I didn't know why when I was applying for PT school, I didn't think to look on social media for like mentors or like resources. And now more and more people are like you are popping up with like great resources for people to look at. And that's awesome. And I'm really fortunate to be able to share all the stuff that you're producing for people that are applying right now. Cause I do get questions sometimes myself, like, hey, I got a low GPA. What do you recommend? And I'm like, oh, this is what I did. And then, but yeah, that's awesome.
But some people want to relate to that, right? They're like, oh, you've been through this. Like, how did you get there? And so I feel like that's where my story comes in. It's like, well, I'll tell you how I got there. I hope it works for you. If you want someone to help guide you through it, I can be your person, because good people need to be PTs. And so if you're seeking this like help, you probably want to be a PT pretty bad. So those are the people I want to help.
Yeah. But like if you're going out to ask people for help, then you definitely want it. So that's good. It's a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you plan, I guess, like this is more of a personal question. Where do you plan on seeing yourself? What's your like 3-year, 5-year plan, or like I guess career goal with not only just like where you're practicing, but like with your social media, etc. Like where do you plan to see it going?
Well, for work, I definitely want to become a clinic director. It was supposed to be my 5-year plan, but I'm almost to my 5-year now. And I was kind of working towards that pre-pandemic. But now it's just there. There's not a hard timeline. I mean, from now, 5 years would be cool from now. Um, but I just want to be able to be in control of like who the staff are, how this clinic, like the autonomy, and just like have my own practice, run it the way that I want to, and pick the people that I want to make my like dream clinic. So that would be my career goal. And then as far as Clinical Sprinkles, I'd love to see it grow. Like, I mean, I get DMs sometimes, and just like a DM of like, hey, thank you so much. You really helped me in this process. Or like, your story really means a lot to me because of this. Like, just 2 sentences can go such a long way. And so I think I created it. I feel like people say this a lot, but I created it hoping to help like a couple people. But like, the more and more that it grows, it's just, I feel like even more motivated to grow it. I think I was really follower hungry a while ago, and I've kind of let that go. And it's like, I post when I want to post. I'm not posting because I need more followers or whatever. It's like, whoever I have as my following now, I want to cater to them. I want to give them provide value to them, without feeling like I'm trying to sell my services. Because it's like, if you want it, it's there. Because that's why the website is just like a landing page for people to find me and like know what I can help them with. But like these clinical sprinkles of like, this is what I learned in clinic today. This is a patient that I have. This is a case study that I want to share with you all because it was tough for me to figure this out. Like, I think that in and of itself is value. And so I just want to keep giving that to my people. And if those people feel inclined to share it, great. But I'm not as follower hungry as I used to be. So as far as the clinical sprinkle growth, it's just as long as I'm connecting and providing value, I'm happy.
Yeah, those are all great goals. I feel like I could definitely see you under the clinical director role. Just talking about all the things we talked about, like giving people the autonomy. You know what you want. Hold on, my phone's going off like crazy. All right, you know what you want, like for yourself as a PT, and then you know what you're gonna be able to provide to PTs in the same like environment to create a clinic. And I think that's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see it. And just the mentorship, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. And I think it's so much value for these people to look at the posts that you make and just different kind of content and just to take away from it, because they're just like, it gets people excited about like what about the field, about what they're learning, about what they're gonna start learning. And
Mhm.
yeah, I just think keep it up. It's just awesome.
Thank you.
And then I guess I don't have any more questions, but I guess we can have some final closing remarks. If you have any big takeaway tips or big key tips for anyone, well, SPTs, pre-PTs, and PTs, just what are some big tips for anyone listening?
Um, make sure you're around good people. Make sure you're not like in a toxic environment. Like, be around people who are going to make you happy and be better and strive to be better. Never settle. Don't sell yourself short. Like, be at a place that you are happy and are valued as an employee, because we paid so much to become a PT, in our time, in our hard work, and our monies, that we need to be valued and compensated fairly. I think that's a big thing that I've learned coming out of school and being where I'm at now. And always be willing to learn, be open-minded. There's going to be new things happening in PT all the time. So don't chase the shiny things, just like be good at the foundations, but always keep an open mind for like all the things that keep popping up, as like blood flow restriction and cupping and dry needling. Like, don't get distracted by, just be a good clinician, find out what's wrong, and then jump for the shiny stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I totally agree.
I feel like I could keep going, but let's just go with those for now.
Okay.
You just gotta follow my page to find out more.
I was just about to say, guys, if you want to follow her page, I'm gonna link all her stuff in the show notes, whether you're watching this video on YouTube or wherever podcast streaming platform you're using. But I just want to thank you so much, Pauline, for taking time to join me on this episode and sharing your knowledge and spitting some fire knowledge today for all the listeners.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is fun. I like it. You're a really good host.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. See, she was nervous, guys. She was nervous about being on here. I'm still nervous about it. This is episode 20 something, and I'm still nervous about hosting this, but here we are. But I just want to thank you guys for everyone that's listening / watching, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Later, guys. Thanks, guys, for tuning in to today's episode of Broke and Stressed. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure to smash that follow or subscribe button to get notified whenever new episodes are released. If you want to connect with me on social media, you can find me on YouTube or Instagram. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.